the proposal. Now I request sir to start his session.
So, good morning, everyone, and thank you. Now it's 12 o'clock, right? You can say good afternoon here. Yeah, so thank you very much, Darshan, for the introduction. So, am I audible to you?
Yes sir. Yes sir.
Okay, the slide is visible now? Full
Yes
slide?
sir. Slide
Full
is also
screen, right?
visible. Yes sir.
Okay, okay. So, thank you for everyone for attending our class, right? So, let start the class without wasting the time, right? Because even we are running out of time, at least 15 to 20 minutes. Right. So main thing is here like a research presentation and proposal writing. Right. So many people are pursuing a master's study. Many people are doing the doctorate also. Even so many people are faculty even with a doctorate degree also. Right. So we need to write a proposal, research proposal. So how to write the research proposal? What we need to look in the research proposal? So how to conduct a literature review, right? So what is the literature review? What is the important things that we need to conduct in the literature review, right? So what kind of paper we have to study? What kind of the magazine we have to study? Where is the funding resources also, right? So main thing is like a proposal writing and the research presentation. Right? Even the people are presenting the research. Right here, for example, postgraduate student in our institution now, like they propose the research seminar also, right? So what to present in the research seminar, how to present it, how to write a research ideas. Right? So that's everything we are going to discuss in our presentation, right? So these are the name of the program is the research methodology and technical writing. So how to write a technical research article, right? How to write a technical research proposal also, how to write a consulting report also, right? Even those who are presenting their PhD research proposal also, right? So it's they say the progress seminar, right? So before that progress, there should be proposal, right? Once the student propose their research, and then based on the research proposal we can go for the progress, right? Without the proposal there is no progress, because every time people will progress but there will not be any focus on the research, right? So there should be focus and clear aim and objective. So we need to complete our research within a permissible time limit, right? So the project duration may be 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, something like that, right? So generally it should be about 5 to 6 years maximum, right? But it depends, right? How many people are involved in the project, how many university we are collaborating, right? And the research funding also, if the external agency is involved, right? So what is the main collaboration of that particular external agency? How much the funding they are doing, they're investing, right? And we are trying to find out the solution of the specific problems only, right? So we are trying to solve the industry problem. So whatever the industry has a problem, so as a researcher, we should identify that specific problems and we try to give a solution, right? So which should be it will be helpful for the industry practice or the society. Eventually we all are working for the society, because whatever the resources we are getting right today, right? So it is a public tax money, right? So it's a public tax money. If people pay the tax, then and then we received all the research funding, right? If people doesn't pay the tax, then we can't do the research, right? So once the people pay the tax, right, and then government is giving the funding, so it is our job, we should have to utilize each and everything precisely, right? And there should not be any wastage, there should not be any misuse also. So main thing is engineering ethic is very important, honesty, right? So honesty is very important. So these thing here, research proposal, writing also, that everything we need to keep in mind, right? So how to build the research proposal, right? So these each and every things we are going to discuss, right? So we doesn't have that much time, but it's like 1 hour it will be sufficient to at least to get understanding what is the research presentation, what is the research proposal, right? So let's start the presentation. So we can say what is a research proposal, right? So what we need to include, right? So here you can say you can start the write down the ideas, right? So you can take a note and paper, write down the ideas. You can search the internet resources also, right? So statement of the intent. So what is the purpose of this particular research, right? So that should be clear, right? So there should be one specific problem. So that particular problem we are going to solve for this particular research. So that we are going to discuss in this particular idea, like academically prepared to complete the research, right? It should be academically prepared, and we need to keep in mind who is our audience once we write a research proposal. So who is the audience, right? So whether they are student, whether they are our peers, whether our supervisor or examiner, right? So we need to keep in mind what is the purpose of this particular research proposal. It's very important, because if you doesn't know who is the evaluator, right? So because there should be criteria how to evaluate the proposal, right? So what is the standard criteria, and who is going to evaluate our research proposal, right? So if, for example, if we are doing a PhD or master, so there may be the supervisor, examiner, and some peers also, right? So they are going to evaluate your research proposal. So that things we need to keep in mind. So that the research proposal, so specific idea, so that particular specific problem we are going to solve, right? So first of all, we need to do the self-assessment, right? So the once we do the self-assessment, then we'll be able to find out the particular problems, right? Then it will go to the peer assessment, group assessment also, right? So this is the main thing, is the statement of intent. So we can say write down the specific problem in a systematic way, so we can solve that particular specific problems, right? So that is the main objective of the research proposal. So another thing is that, right? So what is the research proposal? What we need to include in that particular research proposal, right? In that particular research proposal is a specific plan, right? Describe in a detail of your study, right? We need to describe each and everything, but it's very brief, but it should give the detailed information, right? Because sometimes you are writing 3 4 sentences, right? But the 3 4 sentence, instead of writing the sentence, you can write only one sentence. It will give the purpose, or it will give your idea what you want to convey for the research proposal, because there is always a number of page limitation, or right, or sometimes that number of the word is also limitation. For example, whenever you are submitting the research proposal, so they'll say, okay, within a 2 page you have to give the research proposal, right? Within a 10 page you have to produce your research proposal, including references, text, figures, everything, right? So decision about your study are based on the quality of the proposal, right? So what is the quality? If your idea is novel, right? So if it is a novel idea, so that problem has not been addressed till date. Sometimes you can do the same thing again also, right? Because if whatever the work the person people earlier did it, right? So you are trying to improve that existing research, right? So sometimes you are able to minimize the cost of the product also, right? You can minimize the time also, you can create a more sustainable product also, right? So that is also the research. So in short, we can say we are trying to build a product, or we are trying to give us to solve the problem. So it was not existed earlier, or if it was existed, so we are trying to make it better way, right? So approval to proceed by the institutional review board, right? So there should be institutional review board also. For example, if you are doing a PhD, so there is some committee member, right? So your supervisor and committee member, so they are going to read your proposal, right? So what we need to include in the research proposal, for example, there should be a title of the particular research proposal, right? So that is what is the main title of that particular research proposal. So it should be the detailed plan, right? So there should be a detailed plan describing research area which you are working, and what you want to, what you are knowing, and what you want to find out from this particular research proposal. So research proposal include title of that particular proposal, and then abstract. So abstract, so what you are going to do, so that we should be written in a 5 to 10 word, or maximum 200 word only. right? So it is the depends on the funding requirement and funding body, right? Because there is no any hard and fast rule, but generally they ask like 200 to 300 words, so you have to write a your abstract, right? There should be a table of content also. You have to write down the table of content. So table of content, it will include the each and every information clearly, right? Because there should be the difference between index and the table of content. So what is the index and what is the table of content, which should be clear. So here what we are writing, so here this is just like a index, so we are just giving the ideas only, right? So which chapter, how many chapter we are going to discuss, but what we are going to discuss in that specific chapter like subtopic, so which will include as a contents, we can say table of content. Let's say section 1 we can discuss the introduction of that particular subject. So what is the basic idea, what is available, how we are motivated also, right? Then we can discuss about the review of the related literature. Right? So literature, so it will not allow to go too much literature, but what is the current state of the art, right? So within a 5 years time period, right? Because if you see like for example now at 2020, right? So we can consider the present research like 2015 to 2020. But sometimes if you are considering the literature in the 1980 also, right? 19 1995 also, like 15 20 years back, so that research problem someone have may already addressed, that is also right. But if you see the current state of the practice in that specific topic, so you will get the idea, so it should be related research. So main objective is that there should not be only like conflict of research also, or there should not be any duplication of the research, because if the research is already done, then there is no value of that research, because it is the wastage of the time, wastage of the money also, right? In that case our research proposal is not going to get accepted also, right? Because even we lost the credit also, because peer and the committee will say the person who doesn't know how to write a research proposal, how we can give the funding also, right? So there is a, it will create a problem with integrity of the person, because you are not ethical person, right? So it is a doubtful integrity of that particular researcher. So we should have to avoid all these things. Then we need to write down the research methodology, how we are going to conduct that particular research, whether it is a analytical work, whether it will be a numerical work, experimental work, right? So how we are going to conduct that particular research. So methodology we have to present in terms of like a graphical or pictorial view, right? So it should be like a some of the flow chart also. So step by step procedure, so peer will be able to understand, because like one figure will speak as a 1000 word, right? So that we already know that, because like here the main thing are drawing, like engineering drawing, we know engineering drawing, it is that language of the engineers. So we should take some of the help of the some of the drawings, some cartoons, something like important thing, so it will attract the our idea to the particular peer reviewer also, right? Then other thing is ethical or the legal consideration also. Ethical or legal consideration, for example, if in our research we are not harming to the environment also, like it should be the sustainable research proposal, because sometimes if you are utilizing the animal in our research also, so there should not be any problem to that, we are not harming to that particular animal also, right? We are not creating any issue to the surrounding environment also. So we need to think about the legal consideration also. And then time schedule, so we need to write down that timeline, so within a specific time period we should have to complete the particular research also, right? So that should be like timeline. So first like for 5 months we are going to do this literature review. After that we are going to do the, we are going to procure that particular material also. Or sometimes if your analytical work, so let's say we are trying to develop some computer code also, some mathematical equation also, right? So that will be, we have to include each and everything in our timeline, so it should be completed our research within a time period also. And so here is the other thing is the budget also, right? So budget is also important, because your project, it should not be that much expensive, right? Because each penny is coming from the public tax money, right? So we should have to utilize each and everything, right? Because every institution have, every university have a specific requirement of the account also, but there is a standard guideline from the government, so we should have to follow all these things, and eventually we need to write down the references. So this is the main thing of the research proposal. So I hope everyone is understanding, right? So please let me know I'm audible and everyone is understanding what
Yes,
I'm
sir.
saying, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. So let's say like what is the importance of the research proposal, right? So that is the contract between you and your committee, right? So whoever your committee, it should be one of the legal contracts. So it's sought to protect to the student also. For example, if you are doing a PhD or master, once you are proposing your research, right? So that means you're demanding additional requirement, demonstrate the scholarly abilities also, right? It's how the to it will protect to the student and the committee also, right? Because in the research proposal everything should be clear, like how we are going to pursue this particular research. Because in the research proposal, for example, if you are presenting to your committee, I am going to use the, for example, finite element method, right? For example, if you are in the engineering, so generally we go for the finite element method in order to solve the specific small problem, right? So you should have understanding about the finite element method. So we should have to be clear in the FEM analysis also. For example, if you are utilizing some software, right, numerical method. So at that time, so whatever the available software is important, like a standard software, you should be able to know how to model the particular structure, how to do the pre-processing, how to do the post-processing also, how to analyze the data also. Here the other thing is the statistical analysis also, like demonstrate the scholarly ability. So you have to demonstrate I have all the fundamental understanding, right? Sometimes if you are going to develop your own code also, right? For example, if you are utilizing the MATLAB also, right? Nowadays we are utilizing the machine learning, artificial intelligence only. So what is that machine learning? What is the artificial intelligence? Right? It's just everything. It just depends on the data analysis. Right? We are just giving the instruction to the computer that because there are so many data you are generating. So how to process that data? Right? Statistical analysis, optimization. So all the thoroughly fundamental understanding we should have. Or if it doesn't have, then we need to demonstrate that I'm going to learn these things, right, in your committee, in front of your committee. So protect the committee from the student also, right? Sometimes student will argue like that way also. The committee should be also aware about that this thing is not able to do because student will not able to complete this particular task in this particular specific timeline also, right? For example, if you are going to perform the experimental investigation, right? So at that time, so you need to think about that where the funding will come for that particular experiment, right? And what kind of the experimental facilities available in our department within a university also, right? Because sometimes you are utilizing your instrument from other department also, right? For example, let's say scanning electron microscope, right? So that may be available in maybe in the chemistry, maybe in the physics also, like some of the department, like, right? Because university have a one centralized facility, right? Because every department should not create the same kind of the facility. So that thing is also clear, right? A reference document during the execution and also writing of the result of that particular study. So a reference document is also available, right? So like how we are going to execute that particular problem and also writing up the result of that particular study, how we can write down that particular research, right? So that is also very very important, right? So that's things that like how we can understand, so what is the importance of that particular research, right? So like let's say for example, what is the project cycle, right? What is the funding? So we need to find out the funding, so where the funding is coming, right? Then we can develop the research proposal, like root and submit the proposal. So we need to root and then we need to submit that research proposal, set up the project. So now we are going for the execution, how we can go for the execution of that particular work, or manage the project, how we are going to manage that particular project. So here the project management skill is also important, how we are going to manage, right? For example, in one project, like one postdoctoral student are going to work, right? One two PhD student are working, three master student are working, and five undergraduate student are also working. So now there is a group work, right? So we can distribute some of the work, then we need to combine of the work. So here the project management is also important, project life cycle. So these each and everything we need to keep in mind once we are writing the research proposal. So this thing is very important during the writing of that particular research proposal. So what is that essential ingredient in the research proposal? So essential ingredient in the research proposal, we need to understand your proposal should be straightforward, right? Proposal should be very straightforward. It should capture the attention of the reviewer with the first sentence, right? You should have to do lot of literature review, right? So because there should be eye of that particular literature reviewer, it should capture your attention of your project only, right? Communicate very clearly, language must be clear, sharp and precise, right? So our sentence should not be very lengthy sentence, right? Sometimes people are writing sentence like 3 to 4 line, but your sentence should not go more than half, 1.5 line, right? Maximum 2 line, right? Or just if you have to extend 2.5 lines, so it should not be like a 3 line sentence, right? Because peer is not going to read that way, right? And it will get confuse your proposal. It should be clearly organized. Your proposal should be clearly organized and support the logic to use the develop the proposed outcome, right? So you should have to provide the logic how we are going to solve that particular problem. So it's very very important, like a document with two major objective, right? So like to analyze and synthesize the existing research about that particular project only, right? Particular topic, and we need to describe the research idea for a new study. How we can describe also, right? The issue, what problem does researcher address, right? So what is the issue and what is the problem that you are going to address for that particular problem, right? Research design, how will be the research achieved, like how will the research will be achieved and how the objective you are going to achieve in your research project also, right? So it should be like a feasible and practical objective, right? Sometimes your objective is not a practically feasible, right? For example, you say I'm going to perform the experimental investigation using a, like for example like a earthquake engineering sectable test, right? But the sectable test it is not available here. Then how we are going to check that particular problem, right? So it will be very very difficult to solve that particular problem. And then benefit. So what is the benefit we are going to get it from that particular research, and how we are contributing for the existing knowledge of that particular research society also. So these are the main thing. It's very very important, right? So what kind of the problem we are going to solve it. So it's very very important to understand what is the essential ingredient of that particular research proposal. So like a research proposal makes use like outline in your research proposed research, right? So you need to write down like what is the outline. So what is the outline, which clarify thoughts and develop the ideas beginning to the end, right? So once you write down the outline beginning to the end, it will clarify the clear idea. See whole picture here, it will show the particular complete picture of the research proposal. It will provide this yourself with intellectual context also, right? That should be completely intellectual context also. Be creative in your research proposal. It should be novel idea, right? So if it was novel idea, then justify your research. How could you say it is a novel idea, right? So we need to justify each and everything. Think through your experiment also, right? So how we are going to perform the experiment and the past experiments also has been performed. So we need to think very critically. You need to think outside of the box, right? So outside of the box, how we can think, right? So it will be very difficult. So right, so once you think outside of the box, then and then you will see where you are standing, right? Otherwise it will be just copying and paste work, like what people are doing here, right? Many times I have seen the PhD student, right? Just they write down here and there, where here plus, right? They do little bit analysis, develop the graph, right? But they are not clear what they are doing. Right, so you need to be very clear in your ideas also. Anticipate the potential problems also, right? You should be aware about the potential problems, because for example, if you are performing the research in the laboratory, right? So sometimes, let's say that may be the power failure during your experiment also. There is a chance of the power failure. Sometimes there is an accident also. You need to think about the safety of the human also, right? So these kind of the potential problems, and sometimes your machine is not working properly also, right? There is a chance, right? So all these things we should be aware. So anticipate a realistic timetable, right? So we need to write down. Now, once you write down your timeline of that particular research proposal, it should be realistic, practically feasible, right? So you need to justify why is this work is very important, right? If your work doesn't matter to you, it shows that what do you need to in order, right? Because sometimes if you are not getting satisfied yourself, how could you expect your peer will get satisfied with your work, right? Because nowadays people are publishing lots of research, right, in the journal publication, and journal people are also getting accepted. But if you will write down like a high standard peer reviewed journal, because the peer reviewer are going to evaluate your research ideas, right? And if it is not a novel, then it's going to get rejected, right? So if your work is novel, and if you have write in the proper way, it is going to get accepted. Because this writing, technical writing, it is an art, right? Technical writing, it is an art. So you need to read a lot, right? Lot of reading is required. You need to see so many nowadays. YouTube video is also available, so you will be, your mind will be make very creative, right? So it will give the novel ideas. So then and then you will be able to understand so what the research proposal make you. So if your problem is not practically feasible, then there is no need to do that kind of research, right? So whatever the research you are proposing, it should be practically feasible research ideas, right? So let's say getting started of that particular research proposal. So what we need to write down. So know the requirement before you start, right? So that should be clear objective, clear goal. So here, let's say we can write some tips here, so which will help you to write down the research proposal. So your structure and introduction, discussion, right? So you need to write down like structure of that particular introduction also, right? Because in the first page write down, you cannot introduce the figure, right? Because it will give the bad impression, right? So we need to write down the proper introduction also. Make your image the right quality, right? Whatever the pictures, figures you are putting, it should have a proper quality. Sometimes even if you are writing the equation, that if you are writing with the word processor, if you will take a print, word processor equation, it will not give the proper print, right? So you should have to use, for example, like a Microsoft equation editor also. So make your image should be right quality, right? If it should be visible properly, your font are properly, right? So other thing like create a schematic of your conclusion, right? So schematic of your conclusion. For example, let's see here you have seen in this particular slide here, right? So take your time on the method. So in this slide, so see there is no any text, right? Only just cartoons and figure, right? So it should be like a creative schematic diagram, right? It doesn't need like a dimension, but it should be schematic diagram of the conclusion, so people will be able to understand what you are going to achieve from this particular research, right? So the research proposal usually but not always, which will include this particular key element, right? Outline of that background, right? And context of the research of that particular topic or whatever the issue you are going to address, right? So reason is that why the specific topic. So you need to address why these particular ideas, why this specific topic is very important. You need to justify. It should be rational proposal, right? A review of the key literature. It's very important related that particular issues. So whatever the objective or the specific topic you are proposing, right? So it should be supported with the proper literature, right? So whatever the important topics you are going to address, so your literature should be in that direction only, right? So what we can include, so we can say like a titles, right? So what is the title? Outline, literature review, methodology, method of the data analysis and the data collection also, right? So here the data analysis, data collection, because like earlier Professor Timbadi has explained, right? How to do the data collection, how to do the data analysis, ethical issue also. We need to think about the legal consideration, timeline, resources of that out and that outcome and the reference list. So these are the main things. So the tips how to write down the proposal, what include in the particular research proposal, right? So this is like a, here main thing is like a, then we can see background. So we can see introduction, problem statement, aims and objective. The aim and objective should be clearly defined, right? Rational and the context. So you need, our research proposal should be very reasonable. So you need to write down the methodology, plan of the work. So you need to propose how you are going to conduct that particular research. Whatever the resources available, support. For example, if you are write down that this particular program or the software or this experiment you are going to use in your research, right? So your budget requirement, you need to write down, I'm going to procure or the purchase of this instrument or the software, right? Sometimes it is available in your department, right? So at that time you need to write down this software is available, so we do not need a fund for that. You should be completely be specific, right? So whatever you are write down, it should be a clear, logical answer, right? And then what is the outcome of that your research and then reference list, right? So it is very, very important. So once you write down the starting of that particular proposal, so these key point which will help you, right? So know the requirement before you start, right? So once you start the writing of the research proposal, you should know the requirement, right? So here what we are discussing about, like main thing, the title, abstract, rational, research question, methodology, and the analysis and scheduling, which means timeline. So like sub plan also, like title, sub plan, scientific committee, and then committee for advanced degree, right? So CAD we could say is the committee for the advanced research, and the title of the registration also. So here we can say write down the mini abstract. It should be clear and the consent subject first, right? So you write down the subject, what is your subject, what you are going to discuss in that particular research proposal. So now you have clearing. So then you have to find out what is the problem statement, right? So you will have to write down the problem statement. So what does include that particular problem statement? Short. So what the statement, right? So what is the purpose of that particular research? So it should give the blueprint for your literature review, right? Once you write down the problem statement, so the literature review should be supported. Focus your committee at the beginning, right? So who is your audience, right? Who is your peers, who is going to evaluate your proposal? So you need to keep in mind that keep on the track throughout your proposal, right? You should not change your track once you are writing your proposal, right? So you should be focused in your particular research. So here you can say or and on, right? So but there should be clear uniformity of the sentence also, like whatever the sentence you are write down, so next sentence it should give a clear, like a gap. There should not be any gap in the sentence to sentence, right? So everyone should be on the same page only, right? So research problem is an idea of an area of concern or a gap in the existing knowledge that points to the need for the further understanding or the investigation of that particular specific research, right? So we can say a problem statement is used in that particular research as a claim that outline the problem addressed by that specific study, right? So what is that problem statement? It is used in that particular research work as a claim which will outline the problem addressed by that specific investigation of that particular research proposal. So this way we need to write down the problem statement in your proposal. You should be very clear, right? Your problem statement. Now you will see like problem statement, which means here your clear objective. What is your aims and objective? You need to frame your aims and objective, right? So now you will see like what is the literature review, right? So like whatever the problem statement is there, it should get supported with the current state of the art review of that particular literature, right? So your project will show literature support your hypothesis, right? So whatever your objective, your hypothesis, your literature should get supported with that particular extend the previous work, right? So which means what we were discussing, whatever the work has been discussed, whatever the work has been done by the other researcher, right? So you are trying to extend, for example, if you are trying to find out the your research topics, your research objective also, right? Just go to the library, check the PhD master thesis, and just always in the like end of the thesis, you will see like a scope of the further research, right? The scope of the further research and whatever the assumption they have taken during their in that particular PhD or master or the proposed the research in their research. So you will find out yes, these people have taken that particular research and they address that particular problem, the solution, right? But now there is a scope of the further work, right? So you can extend that particular research also, right? Here avoid the previous mistakes also. So once you will read that particular research proposal or the thesis, so you will be able to understand we should not make that kind of mistake in our proposal, right? Your proposal should be unique to previously followed path, right? Because whatever the earlier the work has been done, but we need to write down in a such a way so it should give the unique and it should give the specific solution, right? And it should be sustainable, right? More serviceable, more functional. Sometimes you are reducing the labor cost, sometimes you are reducing the number of parts also, right? So you can create a better way. So your proposal should be unique. So literature review, which will provide you the reader a clear picture of your project proposal of that particular state of the knowledge in that area. So whenever the peer will see your proposal, right? Because you have defined the research proposal, peer did not, right? So at that time the peer will see like whatever the current state of the art is available in that area, so they will check the review of the literature also, right? At the main question in the subject area beginning of that particular study, once you start of the study, so at that time they will think about the your literature. So select a topic, right? So what kind of the topic we'll have to select. So now you understand how to find out the specific topic, search that particular specific literature, right? And once you have selected the topic, so now you need to search the literature in that particular specific topic. So you are trying to address that specific issue and that research, right? Develop the argument, right? Once you do the literature review, so you will get motivated. How you will get motivated to pursue this particular research? So you need to develop the argument, then you will go survey the literature. After that again you will do the literature review and then critique the literature also, because whatever the published research, it is not mandatory that they did 100% correct work, right? So you need to criticize also sometimes the literature review also, right? So in your whenever you are doing a PhD, so first task is that you should have to write a review of literature, and your that particular review of literature, it should be published in the standard peer reviewed journal only, right? So at that time, once you will submit your research article, so you will get lots of questions, right, from the reviewer. So at that time, you will able to understand whether your research is novel or not, right? So that way, it just there is a one chance, so you will understand how we can find out the clear literature, right? So write that particular review of that literature. So you will be able to understand what is that particular problem and how we are going to address that particular problem, and whatever the current state of that art review of that particular published work is available in the existing knowledge society, right? Because there should not be any duplication of the work, right? Because for example, if people are doing a PhD, right, and the specific university, they are doing the 4 5 years PhD, and whatever the work they are publishing, so that work is already done some other places also, right? Because they will publish their research in a low quality journal. Low quality journal, people are generally accepting your work because there are not a standard peer review process, right? Because if it is a high standard journal, there is a standard peer review process, right? And then they are not going to accept your work unless it is a novel on it excellent work, right? So opinite document convincing your committee that you know your research, right? So whenever you are doing write down the review of the literature, so your committee will think that yes, you know the particular state of the art and you have an understanding, right? And then how to interpret the result, synthesize your own thoughts, which will make you your own figures, right? So you will be able to understand that. Then you will see like a why this particular study is important for us, right? Why I'm going to address that particular issue, right? So describe the significance of that particular research question or that particular question and answer. So what question you have answered, right? So what are the problem you are writing? So what is the question and what is the answer? How the you are addressing for that particular question, right? So that you need to think about that particular review of the literature. So let's say like a narrative of the good literature, right? So what is the good literature? So how we can say whether the literature is good or bad? How we can define it, right? So readers know that, right? Reader know that whether it is good or bad. Reader doesn't know. We need to see like what the reader know and what reader doesn't know. So general specific topic background supporting with that particular study. So here we can say let's say funnel concept, introduction and the scope of that particular structure, so which will be in the background, right? So background of that specific research, so you need to write down what is the introduction. In introduction section, so you can say what is the scope of that particular research and the structure of that particular research proposal, and then you need to narrow down the categorize of that particular research, right? Because you should not make a like a vast subject, right? But you have to narrow down your topic. For example, if you are studying in the master level, undergraduate level, you are studying like at least 40 to 50 subject, right? Once you are going for the master study, then only the 10 subject, right? Once you are going for the PhD, right, then you are narrowing down. So once you are focusing on that specific problems only, so you need to narrow down your research, right? And then categorize the study the closet of that particular research. Some of the research article is available, it will be very close to that particular your research idea, what the research you are proposing, right? So then you will be able to identify the specific hypothesis, specific problem statement, and your aim and objective of that particular your research proposal, right? So what is the structure of the literature review of an article or the structure of an literature of your the particular research proposal also, right? I hope you are understanding how to write down the literature review, right? And what we need to include the literature and what we need to study, right? So only last 5 years paper, generally last 5 years paper we need to refer, because like 10 years old research, it might be that problem has been addressed, right? Because it may not be in our knowledge, but it might be addressed. Where there is no standard like a thumb rule, but it might have, right? So there is a chance. So because here you can say introduction, which should include the reader step by step, sentence by sentence, right? So you need to include the step by step, sentence to sentence, through a chain of connected sentence, which will lead to the most important sentence in the entire thing of that particular research proposal, right? Or your thesis proposal only, right? So there should be uniformity of the sentence, and there should be chain of that connectivity, right? Connectivity sentence to sentence, because you cannot jump other sentence to the complete new sentence, right? So there should be uniformity of the sentences, and that there should be proper connectivity sentence to sentence, and you should be keep in mind the complete what the problem you are going to address and that particular research, right? So that should be at the end of your proposal or your thesis, right? So that you are not writing a funnel shaped particular introduction, right? So these things you need to keep in mind during your research, right? So like what the reader knows and what reader doesn't knows, that like introduce the field broad focus, right? So whenever you are introducing that particular subject, there should be broad focus, right? Focus, but it should be broad focus, and focus on that certain aspect in the field of interest. At the end, with a gap analysis, right? So at the end of the literature review, you will be able to understand what is the gap in that particular existing research, because there is always some of the scope of the improvement, right? There is always some room for the further research, right? So therefore I was advising to just go to the library or just check the existing PhD thesis, master thesis. You will find there is a last chapter scope of the further research, right? So you will get the idea from that specific research, right? So there is always a technique how we can do the research, how we can idea, how we can generate the ideas, right? So we are trying to solve that particular specific problem. So the literature review is very very important, right? So like here, how does your hypothesis fill the gap relevance of that particular novelty also, right? So what do we need to do to get there, right? So in order to find out that particular solution, what we need to do in order to reach that particular problem. So where are we now? Right now, where we are there, which means what is the current state of practice? Where we are, which means what is the current state of the practice, right? And then, like you can say, how do we do this particular research, which means you do the gap analysis, right? So you conduct the review of literature, so you will be able to find out the specific problems and the solution, right? And what will be the desired output, right? Where do we want to go, right? So what will be the desired output of this particular research? What is the probable outcome of this particular research? So it will be your conclusion of that research, right? So you should be aware about all these things, basic fundamental. So if you just keep in mind this thing during your review of the literature, so you will be able to write down your proposal concise, precise, with very clear proposal, right? So there are maximum chances it should be get approved of your research proposal, right? So what is the purpose of that research proposal? So what we have discussed earlier also, like achievability, approach, context, and the consequences, right? So funnel point we can see the purpose can be framed as a research question or the hypothesis, right? So our research proposal should be concise, right? One sentence, right? The sentence should be one line or maybe 1.5 line, right? So sentence should not be lengthy sentence, otherwise people will get confused. If it is a 3-4 line sentence, so once the reviewer, the peer is will be they will be reading the research proposal, right? So in the first line they will read, and once they will reach to the fourth line, they will may not be remember what you have discussed in that first line, right? So there will not be proper connectivity, or there is no any chain between sentence to sentence, right? Then it will be difficult, and then the peer will get frustrated of your research, and then they will not going to accept our research proposal, right? So solution to your problem, it will lead directly to the aims and objective, right? So what will be the solution of our problems, right? So So it will lead to your objective. Once you are finding out your proper objective, like aims and objective of your research, so you will be able to understand. So your objective should be achievability, right? So you can achieve that particular problem, this uh, question, right? You can to achieve the solution of that particular problem, like what is the approach, right? So which means what is the methodology you are going to adopt, what is the context, and what is the consequences of that particular research also, right? Sometimes the research we do, but it may not be good for the human society also, right? There is a chance. It depends on what kind of the research we are doing. So this is the general statement only, right? It's not like a specific for the one problem. So we should have a understanding like what is the purpose of that particular research proposal. So you are doing all these things once you are writing. So you will write down the some references also, right? So narrow down your search term once you are doing the review of the literature, right? So you are doing the references also, right? So you need to narrow. If you will write down the complete big sentence with internet resources, the internet is also giving the confused, right? So and then it will give the vague answer. Then you will be get even confused, right? So peer reviewed articles only, right? Peer reviewed article. So in your area of research, just write down, just Google it, what is the meaning of peer reviewed articles, right? So it has a standard procedure, right? So that kind of peer reviewed journal articles we should refer. For example, if you are in the civil engineering, just write down the top 10 civil engineering international journals, right? Then you will get the list of the journal and see who is the publisher, who is the editor, who are the reviewer, right? Just see each and everything, then you will be get confidence. Yes, these are the standard journal, because you will see that particular research article there. Once you read that particular article, you will be understand there should not be any vague information, and each and everything is properly written in that particular article, right? So you will be see current state of the review of the literature, whatever the current state of the art is available, right? So reviews versus the primary literature also, like primary you'll do all the literature, right? But you'll see like a detailed review of literature, so you can compare. And then you need to cite that particular literature also, right? Which means references also, right? Like a plagiarism, right? So here the most important thing, engineering ethics, right? So we should have to follow the that particular engineering ethics. So in order to avoid that plagiarism, so what we should have to do, right, to avoid the plagiarism, right, to give the credit of that specific author also, right? So whoever has given the ideas, who have written that specific sentence, so you need to give a credit, you need to acknowledge that research society, because we cannot claim that all the work is my own work, right? Similarly, like whatever the research presentation I am doing, right, it is not my own work, but I did lots of review of literature, I studied a lot, right? After that, I refer so many internet resources, textbook also, right? Research methodology textbook, some of the engineering research article also. Based on that, we have identified as this is the best way we can present. So which means we are acknowledging to the research society, which means your person is integrity is very good, right? If you are a doubtful integrity person, you will submit the paper in the bed journal because you have a doubt whether you plagiarized or not, right? Because you are not giving the proper credit to the society to show the original sources, right? Whenever you are write down, so you need to show where this idea you got, where the sentence you brought it here, right? And then to demonstrate your knowledge. So whatever the original source is there, you should not write down the same sentence, but you will have to change that complete grammar of this sentence. You can change the structure of the sentence also, right? And then you will cite it, so where you brought it, then you can say that cannot be considered as a plagiarism. So how to avoid the plagiarism? So you need to demonstrate your knowledge, right? It is not like a literature review just copy and pasting, but you need to write in a such a way there should not be any conflict of research. The people should not say it is my own work, right? For example, if you just type in a Google retracted paper, right? Where the paper has been retracted. So many universities, maybe IITs, NIT, even in the abroad also, right? Standard university, like for example, National University of Singapore. Just write down the retracted paper, National University of Singapore. You will find out that so many paper it has been retracted because of the plagiarism issue also. Even in our country also, many people are doing the paper are getting retracted also. Right? For example, I can give you one of the example. I have reviewed the one of the research article for the American Society of like American Concrete Institute, right? It was the Material and Structure Journal, one of the paper when I was abroad. The paper was came from some of the university from South India, right? So I should not declare the name of the people and university, but the paper it came from the south in those areas, that and just I check it. So same paper they published 3 to 4 places, same work they publish the 3 to 4 place without changing anything, right? So that is it's a doubtful integrity, and there those people designation were professor designation, so we can understand what kind of work people are doing, right? So it is a doubtful integrity, and so there is no value of that kind of research. Rather we should not do this kind of the unethical practice, right? This we should not do this kind of the unethical practice. So whatever the work we do, it should be our own work. If we are doing some other people work, so we need to acknowledge them, right? We should not do the copy and pasting. For example, if you are utilizing directly one figures or one chart or directly something like a sentence, right? So if it's the sentence, you put have to write in the inverted comma. If you are utilizing one figures, table, chart directly as a copy paste, then you should have a written permission from the publisher or the who is the original author of that particular figures or articles or the tables, right? You should have a written approval. Then and then you are supposed to use that thing in your thesis, in your abstract, wherever you want, right? Without a written approval, you are not supposed to write down your figure. It's not like that. For example, you have written, you have brought one figure from some other places, and then you said write down Mr. XYZ at all you have brought from. This is not a way, right? So it will be considered as a plagiarism. So in order to avoid that plagiarism, right, you can change that complete ideas. You can modify the figure better way, right? So then you have to put, and then you can update that figure with the current state of the knowledge, right? Then you can write down the citation, then you acknowledge, so that will be all right. So right, so that is not a plagiarism because you have updated the existing knowledge, right? So now here we are discussing of the references, right? So references also, so tomorrow we are going to discuss about the references, how to give the references, right? So you are writing down all the references with manually, but you have to write down all the references using that specific chapter on this, right? So specific internet resources class masih pas ya. But so internet resources, like there is a one, so there are different software is available. For example, EndNote, there is one of the software, right? So how to cite that particular references. So tomorrow we are going to discuss about the references, how we can do the references using this particular software, right? So this is the EndNote software. Another is the RefWork also, right? So EndNote, RefWork, it is a paid software, right? It is not a free service, right? So here you can say this complete particular name of the author has been given, that year of publication has been given, title of the article has been given also. So directly you will cite it in your research article or research proposal at the end of the chapter or end of the thesis or the proposal. Just you need to one click and then you will get complete your references, right? It will be organized when there is no any chance you will miss any single references, right? So these are the standard software is available in the market. Another software is the Jotero, right? So this is also the good software is available for the references, right? So literature references here, you can say keyword also, link to the PDF or the text article, automatically coded the literature references, right? So it will give the code also, right? So sometimes if you are utilizing the latex software also, that in order to write down your proposal, in order to write down your thesis or research articles, right? So there are some of the software is available how we can do the references, right? Another software is the Mendeley software. So that is also one of the software how we can do the review of the literature, right? And how we can cite that particular references in your proposal, in your thesis, in your research article, right? Because these are the some of the tool is available in the market. So this particular tool we have to utilize. So it will save your time also, right? Because nowadays so many tool is available like software, these all are the tool, right? So we can use that particular tool and we can minimize our time period also to write down the proposal. And otherwise, if you are changing each and everything anywhere in this proposal, right? So if you use this particular tool, you do not need to worry about how your references it were. For example, because different journals, different proposal body also, they were different style for the references also, right? For example, for the civil engineering, let's consider one of the publisher like American Society of Civil Engineering, right? So they were different style. Let's say another publisher, let's say elsewhere, construction and building material, engineering structure, journal of the building engineering, journal of the structure also, it has a different requirement, right? So different journal, different like Taylor and Francis, right? That Springer publication. So each and every publication, they have a different requirement. For example, you have submitted one research article in, let's say, in American Society of Civil Engineering, right? So the citation was different, but now somehow your paper did not get accepted, right, in that particular journal. So now it's refused to publication. So now again you will review it, you read it, you will update in the proper way, right? Whatever the reviewer has given the comment, you address the comment, you write in the better way. But now if you are submitting the same article in a Springer publication, right, like say journal of structure or journal of the concrete, or let's say bulletin of the earthquake engineering, right? So at that time you need to revise each and every references like manually, right? So it will increase your task and it will create the, sometimes you will miss some references also, right? But if you are utilize, if you have used this specific standard tool, then it will be easy for you. Just one click you can say, okay, Springer publication for this specific journal, it will be automatically, it will get updated within a text also. At the end of the text, the references, list of the references, it will be written automatically, right? So you do not need to worry. Sometimes little bit editing may be necessary, right? Sometimes little bit, because it is a software, right? Software, computer doesn't know zero, the computer know only 0 and 1, right? It's work on the binary language. So whatever the input command you give, it will work. Sometimes you need to do the editing also. So these things the Mendeley software we'll be discussing on the tomorrow's class, right? So how to do the citation, each and everything. So we'll just demonstrate the complete software, how, where to get the software, how to download it, how to write down the references, and each and everything we are going to discuss from the tomorrow's class. So the plagiarism, so we have already discussed about the plagiarism, the reference immediately after the mentioning, right? Not the end of the paragraph, right? It should not be at the end of the paragraph. It should be like in between wherever the import, like always identify the source of that particular original place. Summarize the useful point also, right? Which is the most important point that you need to summarize. So no copy paste, right? Stop that particular plagiarism. So we should have to follow our ethics, right? So ethic is very, very important. So our integrity should be very clear. Integrity should not be doubtful. As a researcher, as a professor, as an engineering student, our integrity should be clear, because what are the resources, facilities we are getting because of the public tax monies, right? So we doesn't have any right to waste the public tax money. So which our integrity should not be doubtful, right? Whatever the things, we should be clear, right? We should not do any unethical work, right? So now let's discussing about the aim and objective of your research proposal, right? The purpose of this research is to, right? So once you will write down your aim and objective, right? So that focus everyone to get them to the back to that particular same page. We can say the purpose of that particular research is this, and the aim of that particular research, short but a general state of that intent, right? So objective should be very specific statement, right? Your research proposal should have a 3 to 4 objective. It should not be like a 6, 7, 10 objective. We have seen many PhD student, master student, there were so many objective in their research, right? It's good you have wrote so many objective, but do you think you will be able to clear solve all this objective? You will be able to address all the objective within this particular timeline, right? So objective should be reasonable, it should be viable, so you will be able to solve your problem within a specific timeline, right? So it should be specific statement which will define the practical step you will take to achieve your aim within that particular timeline, right? So there should be specific focus. If you are not focusing your work, right, then there is no specific research, right? Then your time is increasing, right? Because nowadays some people are doing taking a PhD maybe 4 years, 5 years, some people are taking 7 years, some people are in the 10 year also. I have seen some people are doing PhD in IITs, last 10 years they are doing the PhD. So I'm not understanding what kind of the work we are doing if we are not able to achieve our objective in a 10 years, right? So there is no value of that particular research, because same kind of work throughout the world, many people are doing lots of research, right? So they might have solved that problem in the last 10 years. We are just focusing one this area here and there, so there is no focus, right? So it is our your supervisor job, so he should make you to focus on your particular research, right? Because once you are enrolling your PhD, your master, so first a few months, maybe the 6 to 7 months, you are focusing on your coursework, right? Once you are doing the coursework, so that coursework, it should be related to your project only, right? Whatever the work you are going to do, and that in your research of the PhD, your proposal, that kind of coursework will have to do, right? After that, you will be able to understand, right? So what is then you will be writing down your proposal, research proposal, right? So you are very clear, right, in your statement. Once you are writing down, so you know what is your goal, right? Based on your goal statement, you will write down your aim and objective, right? So then it will help you to focus on that specific research. If you are not able to focus, then it will increase your timeline, right? So if you have a clear aim and objective and a goal of that specific research, then you will get focused and you will be able to complete that particular research within a timeline, right? So now methodology. So methodology parts, like what we need to include, like a research model development, phase one, phase two. So phase one, like a review of the literature, conceptual framework, then sampling, survey questionnaire, design, pilot study, data collection, right? And check the list of the case study data collection, case study of the data analysis also, and then sometimes you are doing the interview of the guidelines of the expert also, interviews, collection of the data, right? So that way, theory, hypothesis, observation of the test, and the confirmation whether we have to accept the hypothesis or reject, right? So that uses, like what is the use, what you need to prepare and collect the data. So this way you have to write down the methodology, right? So now it's our, like it's already 1:30, right? Our time is, so how much time we have left? That's an
Yes, sir. Sir, still you can take 10 to 15 minutes, sir. No issue.
Okay, right? Because I need to cover so many things, fundamental things, so it will take time. Even we started like maybe
I,
12:20, right?
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, you can continue. Yes, sir.
Because we have a 1 hour, 1.5 hour class.
Ah, yes, 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 yes.
Okay, so experimental design, right? So once you are writing the experimental design, so now this way, this is from this flow chart, right? So you will be able to understand. For example, this is from one of the research proposals, right? So here, like for example, like what is the OPC, FA, all these things is written clearly with pictorial and the schematic diagram. Now you will be able to understand how the work flow, right? So first we need to do the materials and methods, right? So this material and then mixing of the material. So now it is like methodology, how we are going to do all the work, what kind of the test you are going to conduct, right? And then what is your result and what is your conclusion, right? So it should be like your research methodology. It should be in terms of the pictorial or the some of the schematic diagrams. It will catch the eye of that particular reviewer or your peer or your committee member, right? It will it's look like attractive right away. Their eye will go to that specific area and then they will be able to understand. They will get impressed of your work, right? Because you have a clear understanding to represent your idea. So the proposal writing, it's very important, like how to write down the proposal, how to present the proposal also, right? So timeline also we have discussed, so which will help you the experimental design in the correct order, right? Avoid the dead time also. When building your timeline, consult with other student in your lab or that your classmate that have done the similar study also, right? Contact some other student also, some professor also. They might have did the similar kind of the work, so which will help you to keep your experiment, maybe the physical experiment or the numerical experiment, so which will help you your design in the correct order. Now about the budget and the project, right? So now main thing is the funding, money is coming in the picture, which will give you an appreciation of the research cost, right? Which will prevent you from the overspending, right? Because you need to keep in mind that is the funding is available. So sometimes you should not go overspending, which will provide you the specific explanation for need for the specific technology. What is the need of that particular technology? What is the need for other financial requirement? For example, conferences, instrumentation, staff, bursaries like fellowship, right? So these things you need to keep in mind. Do you really need this kit, right? Sometimes if you are going to purchase some instrument or some kit, right, whether it is really important in this particular research, so which will keep you in the focus and your it will not it will prevent you to from the overspending also. And then outcome of that proposed research, what do you expect the result to be, right? So what will the outcome of your research, whether it is a measurable. For example, you will get a degree, right? After the end of your PhD you will able to get a degree. Sometimes you will get a registered the patent also, right? You will publish the research article, so it is a measurement, right? So how you can measure it? And then qualitatively, so qualitatively, which means the contribute understanding the subject, the new technology, new application, right? You are filling the some of the gap of that existing research society, like we can say first with the poor, fair, good and the great ideas, right? Then it will move like this way. So your outcome, it's very important. So now once you understand the particular research proposal, so now make practice, right? Practice, which means practice makes man perfect. Revise and edit, right? Back up your proposal every day, right? You need to take a backup of your proposal. Sometimes it will affected the your computer may be affected the virus. Somebody will theft your idea also. To take a proper like backup of your proposal every day. Always print on the paper and edit it, right? So take a print out of your proposal, read it clearly, loudly, and edit it wherever the important things, right? And then use the standard font. So minimum font you should have to use like minimum, like if you are writing the text, it should be 12. If the proposal in the presentation, it should be 24 to 28 only. Number your pages, right? You need to write down the number of pages. Read very loudly, right? So now the kid, see now it's very happy, right? Once you read your proposal very loudly, your ear will tell you where is the mistake, right? You do not need any other person to prove your research. If you will read it very loudly, your work, your ear, it will give you the answer. Please stop here. There is something wrong, right? There is a grammar mistake. There is a punctuation mistake also. Your ear will tell you. So now you will get happiness, right? So like a pre-write, plan and outline, write a first draft, redraft, revise it, edit and proofread it, right? So now this way you will prepare a better research proposal, right? So these are the writing process of the research proposal. So common pitfall to avoid: forget to include the table of contents. So there is, we can, we get a mistake, we get the problem. Like sometimes we are forgetting to include the table of content, not connecting the proposed research to the literature review. Also, there is no any connectivity. Whatever your proposed research and your research also, there is chances, right? Not enough detail about the methodology, jargon, sweeping, generalities, right? Relying solely on your supervisor. Like whatever your supervisor has given the topic, it is not mandatory that particular research is completely novel ideas, right? So you have to conduct the literature review also to avoid that particular pitfall. So you need to be careful once you are writing the proposal. Improving your odds, so know what the evaluation criteria will be and check that you meet that particular evaluation criteria. Start with the outline, right? You will have to write down the outline of that particular proposal. Read approved proposal also, right? So whatever the proposal has been approved, for example, just go to the DST site, you will find out some of the proposal, approved proposal also, right? SCRB also. So that read that particular proposal, approved proposal also. Once finished, ask other to proofread. Right? If you are a PhD student, ask your friend to proofread it. Sometimes, if your parents are literate, right, then ask your mother to read your proposal. If your mother will able to understand your proposal, right, then guaranteed the proposal is going to accept it, right? Because they are not like your parents, they are not doing what, they are not knowing what you are doing, but once they read your proposal, then they will able to understand your ideas, right? So definitely other people are going to understand. So make sure your mentor approve it before you submit. Right? So very, very important things here. Like here I have seen like a people, like master PhD student, right? They are submitting the proposal, right? But their supervisor doesn't have any idea where they are submitting, what they are writing. Then they are getting lots of problem, right? So therefore their paper is not getting published in a good journal, right? So you keep a very close liaison with your mentor, whoever your supervisor. You must have to keep a close liaison. It is your job to contact your supervisor. Supervisor is not responsible for that, but it is your job because you are going to learn. Supervisor has already learned, he got his degree, he has a survey, everything he has. So it is our job as a student, it our job, we need to contact them. Nowadays, for example, nowadays, right? Now physical contact is not possible, but nowadays Google Classroom, Microsoft Team Classroom, so many free resources available. Always take your approval from your supervisor, right? Ask their timeline when they are available, right? Send them email, ask them to read your work and just give them at least 1 to 2 week time period. Whenever you are writing proposal or thesis, give your supervisor some timeline, right? So he can understand, so he can write your proposal. For example, if you are going to submit your research proposal, or if you are going to give your exam like tomorrow, and today you will give report or presentation to your mentor, he is not going to evaluate it, right? And eventually you will not be a better people, better researcher also, because you are trying to learn it, you are trying to improve yourself. This is not a better way. So try to keep a close liaison with your supervisor, right? Because you need to find a best supervisor, right? So best supervisor, he will prepare you, he will train you, right? Best supervisor, he will prepare you, he will train you, he will scold you many times, but he will produce like better researcher, right? Rather than working with so many people, just find the better mentor only, right? So it's very, very important. So evaluate the proposal, like aims and objective are likely to be achievable in the given timeline. Rational, it should be reasonable and justified your proposal. Like evaluation, it should be outstanding, excellent, very good, average or below average, right? So how we are evaluating, like once we are writing the proposal, so it is evaluated by the some of the researcher or the peer also, so we can understand how we are going to evaluate our proposal, right? So this was now up to the evaluation of the proposal. So we have completed how to write down the research proposal and what we need to include in the research proposal, right? So is it clear now? We have complete the only just research proposal writing. Now we'll just switch it over to the presentation. Now you have proposed the research proposal, you have submitted to the funding body also. So now if your proposal is good, it will get accepted and they will ask you to give the proposal presentation, right? So now it is coming from the presentation, how to present your idea in front of your peer, in front of your committee member, right? So how you have to present. So till now, if you have any question, concern related to the writing of the proposal, please ask me, or I will have to just wind up the class and then we'll discuss at least 10-15 minutes about the proposal presentation. So please let me know if you have any question, or I just continue the presenting the research proposal.
So we have some question in the chat box.
Okay.
Let me read. Sir, how to find funding and how to trust on them, because in some of the funding it need to invest own money in starting stage of projects.
Yeah, I can read that question here also. Yeah. So where is that question? How to find out the funding and how to trust on them. See, how to find out the funding. So let's say, for example, Department of Science and Technology, Gujarat Council for Science and Technology, right? Engineering Research Board. So all are research funding bodies available. It is from the government of India's, right? It is a public tax money. So there is no any chance about like a trust. We must have to trust it. It is a government funding body. It's not like a particular person properties, right? So there is no any chance like a trust them. How to trust them? Because for example, DST is there. So DST is not a new body. It's like 40, 50 years old body. Once we got the independence, from those days, this funding body has been established. So there is no any question about the trust, right? But how to fund the funding? So DST is announcing the research proposal, right? So just you need to frequently read that research funding body's guideline, right? Once you read it clearly, so you will be able to understand like what is the research proposal and where is that funding is available, right? So DST, like Gujarat Council of Science and Technology, even now, for example, Indo Collaboration Program also, Indo Canada Program also, like so many country we have a diplomatic relationship, right? So it is in the public nowadays. You need to be aware. Nowadays, Facebook is available, WhatsApp is available, so many group is available, right? So people are just giving so many information about the research funding also, but you need to be aware, right? So that way we'll see like where the source of the funding is coming, because some funding it need to be invest own money in starting stage, right? No, that cannot be considered as a research, right? Why we can put our own money? Because our research is not a novel. If our research is a novel, if you submit the proposal in the DST, for example, let's say there is one program, India Canada program, IC Impact Research, right? IC Impact Research. So from the India, so you need a funding partner also. You need a organization, private organization, so which they should invest in your research, right? And the DST. So now DST and the private organization, and from the Canada side also one university and one private organization. So over there, government of Canada will put the money, and here DST in your partner organization will put the money. Once your project is getting approved, within a few days it will be coming to your institute account, right? So then you do not need to spend, but it should be clearly like how you have wrote the proposal, right? Everything is depends on our skill, right? So other like how to take written permission to use the figure from the elsewhere or other reputed journal. Yeah, that's great, right? Just go to the elsewhere website, right? So elsewhere is clearly guidelines wherever the all that if you want to use that particular figures, there is a specific guideline, and this they will give you the link, and that particular link one like one website will be open, and then they will ask you whether you are utilizing for the research purpose, for academic or industrial purpose. Sometimes they are charging the money only, right? They will charge maybe the $100 for one figure, because it is their private organization, they are not government, it is their business, they are selling the work. Because whenever you are publishing your research, they are not charging the money in your research, right? So it's like you have to write down, like you should know the source of that particular figures or tables or the sentence, right? Once you know the source, send them email, right? Generally most of the people, like good work people are responding, because when I was doing my PhD at abroad, we have taken some of the figures, right, from the even publisher also. Some of the work is available for the in the public domain, right? So public domain, whatever the work is available, right? So it's a free of cost, but you must have to acknowledge them, right? So that we can solve the problem about the elsewhere or any journals. They like whatever the figure you want to use, they have given, the publisher has given the clear guideline, right? So that way you can get the approval. Review paper from similar field area or problem solution with research gap will be considered as a research. See, there is not a specific like a thumb rule like we can consider the research. Like whatever the review paper you are considering, the problem you have to see like it should be novel. How could you define the project is a novel problem, right? So you do the research review of the literature in that specific field, then it is our own judgment, because you need to do practice makes man perfect. You need to read a lot, and you need to be aware, right? Like so what I was discussing about the Facebook, WhatsApp, so many nowadays groups, so many things are available free of cost. You need to be check each and everything, then you will be get knowledge all these things. So other question, provide the presentation for a further reference. Yeah, we'll provide the presentation later, right? What is the scientometric analysis? Systematic analysis. I'm not understanding. What is the scientometric? Like systematic analysis, if we can say scientific analysis, which means there should be statistical analysis, right? Because some of the question like you should have a minimum sample, right? Like there is a difference between specimen and the sample. Like specimen it should be one product only, like sample it should be minimum three, right? So you need to do the sampling, then you do the systematic statistical analysis, optimization. So this will be considered as a scientific analysis, right? Other things, yeah, I think most of the question is that. Thank you. Yeah, will be very useful. Yeah. Other thing, like see, I was also same like this way, but I spent like 8 years in the abroad, right? Like so many years I spent. I was attending all the defense, whether it's undergraduate, master, PhD, whether it is arts, commerce, history, anything, medical science, and we read a lot of research articles, so many research articles, right? Even till days I am aware in my specific area of research throughout the world, whatever the research is going on, I am already aware. Like in my area of research, for example, if someone is doing a research in Germany, like Nepal, maybe the US, maybe the Zambia, wherever people are doing, like I am keep in a touch with most of the researchers because nowadays Google Scholar is there, Google Alert is also available. In the journal, once you see the specific journal also, they will give you alert in that area. There is a new word, you will get the alert in your email. So you need to be aware, you need to be practice, yeah. You need to be continue keep practicing, right? So you should not be give up for anything. Continuous practice, 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 and practice makes man perfect. So now it's okay, or should we continue because I have so many things still?
Sir, can I ask something?
Yes, please go ahead.
Sir, sir, I am doing my PhD in physiotherapy. Sir, I have one question.
Yes, please.
Sir, my research proposal is on based on volleyball player. So
Mm-hmm.
I just want to ask you that I have to send my research proposal to the university or guide, but in that research proposal, I have to add the permission from volleyball player or something like any type of any letter or I mean I have included a subject as a volleyball player, so I have included in my thesis or in research proposal that
See,
permission from,
like
and my research is experimental study design. So
yeah, yeah. Continue, please continue.
so that's I have to include in research proposal that permission from volleyball player, or is it included directly in the my thesis or dissertation?
See, for example, in your proposal, if you are utilizing some figures, some
Mm.
photographs, right? Some people without, like if you are putting some photograph without their consent, right? Then it will be considered as a offense, right?
Yes.
So we need whatever, if it is not our own work, right? We should have a permission from these people because once you are writing a proposal for the Bollywood ground, for the specific ground, we do not need any proposal because if there will be something is involved, like if there is some excavation in the ground, right? So whether
Mm.
that if because the ground just generally is from the government, right?
Yes.
The property is
Yes.
government property, so government will do allow to the excavation of that to make any changes of the ground, right? So in that
Yes.
case, yes, we should government should be aware about that, right? So all these things we should have to be clear because if you are not making any the damages, right, then that's okay because once you are doing study and then discuss with the supervisor also, right? Because supervisor have a more idea in that specific areas, right? So they will give the specific answer, but here I can give the general answer. If you are not utilizing somebody's direct work, then we do not need any approval. Just we can write down the proposal, ask your
But
supervisor
sir,
to, yeah, yeah.
but sir, my question is that the permission for the volleyball player means the approval of volleyball player.
See, the
That,
volleyball player, it is they are human, right? So
yes,
whatever this thing is that no one is volleyball is like those who have invented the first volleyball, right? So now it is for public only. So it is not anyone own property. So we do not need any approval from the volleyball, right? Those who
but
are
sir,
playing the volleyball.
but sir,
Because
when we are doing study on any patients in our clinics or hospital, then
yes,
we have to compulsory sign the permission letter from patients.
but
So
yes,
same way we have to sign that letter from a volleyball player also in my study.
yeah, see, in that case, for example, if you are doing some survey or some you are creating some questionnaire or some
Now,
volleyball
sir,
player also.
I am applying physiotherapy techniques or sports related techniques on that player. That's why I am asking that
Yeah, yeah.
I have.
understand your question. Like if you are including directly to that particular person, if you are, for example, let's say I am a volleyball player, right? And if you are
Yes.
asking something from me, and if you are going to include that in your proposal, then definitely you need my permission, because whatever you have taken my interview. So first I have given, okay, yes, I am ready to be getting interviewed, right? Because you will ask some questionnaire. Based on this questionnaire, you do the statistical analysis, but there will not be any name, right? It is the quantitative analysis. In that
Yes.
case, yes, because if you are taking something from them directly, then we definitely ask the permission. But generally, that way, that may not be created that much problem, because if you are damaging something to someone else, there is a chances, then definitely we need the approval from the specific people.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. And one more question.
Yes,
Sir,
please.
I am having trouble in choosing the subjects, number of subjects.
Mhm.
So first, what I have to do with any type of statistical analysis for that thing?
See, like subject, which means you are going
How
to
many?
study the specifics. For example, let's say volleyball, or just topic you are talking about.
Sir, I am talking about volleyball player, but I have to include how many volleyball player include in my study that I cannot decide. But sample size is decided on any statistical analysis, right? Then,
Yeah,
what is the first step to select the sample size for my study?
yeah, yeah. See, like a sample size, like wherever you are doing some study, so there is a local guideline is available, international guideline is also available. So we should have to follow that specific guideline. For in our engineering, we have a Indian standard code of practice, right? So code of practice is given, you need to do the testing of minimum that much sample. And even if you
Yes.
do the statistical analysis, right? So there it should be a minimum three sample, right? Maximum like six sample, it's okay. Like one particular place, if you have to get some average, so if you are doing the one testing, how you will get the average? Right? For example, if you do the questionnaire about the 10 people, 10 volleyball player, then you will get
Yes.
a statistical, and then you will do the average, you will make averaging. One person, you cannot give the conclusion, right? It will not be justified. If you
Yes,
have to
sir.
give
Yes,
a
sir.
general conclusion, so it should be vast. So you can do the statistical analysis. You can find out the mean, or you can find out the average, right? So therefore,
Absolutely.
you need a sample size. That should be a standard guideline. So minimum three is required. Minimum.
Okay, sir. Okay. Okay. Thank you so
Yeah.
much, sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir. Thank you so much.
All right. So now more question. It's already 2 o'clock.
So I think all the questions in the chat box you have covered.
Yeah.
So any
Should
other
we?
questions from the participants?
Yeah, if anyone participants, please let me know if you have any doubt or question. Even you can send the email. I'm always open, right? But even like within hopefully within a few months, this the circumstances will be normal, right? Once the circumstances is normal, and once the government is allowing, you all are welcome to visit the SVNIT anytime, right? So we are so many number of professors, everyone are very good, and they are always eager to help wherever the people are they need, right? Even nowadays we have so many young professor also. Most of the young professor is came from the IIT background, right? So they are very fresh and young people. Even the old people are very much helpful. So we are very open for the any surrounding area or whatever the help you need, right? So you can send the email chat box, or you can unmute yourself and just ask the question, right? I think we have covered so many things. Even like we now it's 2 o'clock, our time is already over, right? But the next class I will try to discuss other thing like a writing part, and the referencing in the with the help of the demonstrating the Mendeley software also, right? So all good.
Yes, sir. Now I think no
We can
questions.
continue.
So now we can conclude, sir.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you so much for your informative lecture. I hope that all will get some um, idea that how to write the this research proposal, and also what are the things which one should be can be take into consideration before preparing this. So hope that it will benefits to all the participants. So once again, on behalf of all the participants and the civil engineering department, I would like to thank sir for delivering such a wonderful and interactive session. So thank you so much, sir.
Okay, so thank you very much, Darshan, and all the participation. Without your participation, we cannot do all this research. So thank you very much for giving me an opportunity to share my knowledge, right? So because without any opportunity, we cannot share the knowledge, right? So whatever the knowledge we acquired, we should be able to share. If I am sharing my knowledge is getting increased day by day, right? So you all are most welcome for any question or any help. Right. So thank you so much for the DST, Guj Coast, and Government Engineering College, Surat, and eventually yes, SVNIT Surat. So SVNIT Surat has provided the resources to the library facility, internet facility, computer facility also, right? So thank you so much for the participation, all those who are involved directly or indirectly in this particular faculty development program. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. See you tomorrow, sir, in morning 10:30.
Okay, okay.
Okay,
Have a
okay.
nice
Thank you.
day. Bye bye. Take care.
Bye, sir. Bye, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so now we have break. We will meet at 2:30. So thank you. I'm now just ending the meeting.
Thank you so much.